to the students who have joined us today. Thanks for coming. We are Holst Architecture, and we are an architecture firm in town located in the Central East Side, about 46 people. And today we have Dave Adi, one of our owners, going to give a presentation today about how our work does some good in the world. Take it away, Dave.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
Share my screen. Does that look okay?
Yep, we can see it.
Great. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Like Sarah said, my name is Dave Adi. This is me. I'm one of 4 owners at Holst. We've been in operations for 30 years, since 1992. So we're celebrating 30 years this year, which is exciting. We're a firm of lots of different folks of different backgrounds and abilities, but mostly what we provide is architectural services focused around housing, health, and education. We also have a very collaborative environment where we work together on projects and on and efforts in the community. We have been operating in the Central East Side, like Sarah mentioned, for the whole time in Portland. But a lot of our work is in Oregon, but we also have a lot of work outside of Oregon in places like Idaho and Washington State, and even as far as the East Coast. A few of the projects we're known for around town vary between multifamily housing projects, office projects, also civic projects like convention centers, and hospitality projects like boutique hotels. So we kind of do a little bit of everything. We even do some single family houses every once in a while for specialty clients. But like I said, what we try to do is focus mostly on projects that impact housing, health, and education. This is a timeline of our firm, founded in 1992 by 2 guys named John Holmes and Jeff Stewart. And if you put their last names together, Holmes and Stewart, that's how you get Holst. And they owned the firm and operated it for 25 years until 2017, when my 3 partners and I took over the helm, and John and Jeff stepped back and retired from Holst. And at that point in time, right around here, that's when we became a certified women-owned business. My partners Kim Wilson and Renee Strand have a majority share in the company, and so we're really happy to be able to run the largest women-owned and disadvantaged architecture firm in the state of Oregon. So I think that's something to celebrate. But you can kind of see here the timeline of projects and how they sort of grew over the years, and also how the firm grew as well. And so we started with just 2 guys in an attic, and now we're 46 people in a office across the river from downtown. So there's a chat. What is our age requirement? I don't think we have an age requirement. Most of the folks that we hire are graduates from accredited architecture programs. But we do occasionally hire interns and folks that are still in school. And then we also have some areas of business around, the office management, IT, accounting, where people don't have architectural training as well. But the majority, probably about, I would say, 90% of our staff are architecturally trained people. What's on the screen now is both our org charts and our values, our Holst core values. So we've structured our organizational chart to be concentric rings, because we don't see ourselves as a top-down organization, but rather all working together to support our core values. And those values are that we value passion with perspective, meaning that we are very passionate about what we do, but we also have a real world. We understand that we operate in the real world, and that we have to be grounded in the decisions that we make, but that we always want to be focused on our passion for creating great places. We value intuition with precision. We also we like to think that our design sense means that we're tapping into the emotional side of our creativity, but that we're also extremely precise in the solutions that we come up with for our buildings and the spaces that we design. And then finally, we value equity with action. I think this is something that's becoming extremely important in our world today, and that talk is cheap, and so we're trying to find ways that we can make actual change in our communities around equity and social justice. There we go. So I thought it might be interesting to share two projects with you. I mentioned housing, health, and education. These would be two projects that focus mostly on housing, but they actually have a lens to health as well. It's one thing that we're learning as we work with lots of disadvantaged folks and the homeless community, that housing has a direct impact on health outcomes. And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that today. So the first project is a little bit of an older one. It's from about 10 years ago. It's called the Butler Commons. But this was a pivotal project for our office, where we went from designing mostly for private clients to doing a lot more public work. And this is a project that combines, a homeless shelter, a day center for folks experiencing homelessness on the streets to access services, and then permanent supportive housing above, where we have 130 very small efficiency apartments in the building. This is in the gateway to downtown, and is a major piece of sort of this end of town's redevelopment. But one of the things I wanted to point out around housing and healthcare is that there are very clear metrics in our society that being housed has a direct impact on people's health outcomes. So you can see the blue bars are percentages of folks experiencing everything from diabetes to substance abuse in the unhoused community, and those numbers drop significantly when you give people housing. And it's actually been proven time and time again that it is much less expensive as a society for us to give people free housing than it is for us to serve them with emergency rooms and healthcare and emergency services and police forces and all the things that our houseless community have to deal with on a daily basis. So I'll show you a few pics about the Butler Commons. This is where we are in Portland, in the Northwest District, close to the river, close to the train station. The building, like I mentioned, is split into 3 different sections. We've got a shelter on the first floor. We've got the day center on the second 2 floors, and then the top 5 floors are where we have the housing. This is also a very sustainable project, or what we also like to call resilient, where we're using technology and design to limit the building's impact on the environment. So everything from being able to heat the water with the sun, to recycling the water coming off of showers and clothes washers to be used to flush toilets, extremely efficient building systems, trying to bring in greenery even though we're in the middle of the city and have lots of green roofs and stormwater planters. So just lots of different strategies that we use as architects to try to limit our footprint on the environment. This is at the entry to the day center, where we have a generous courtyard that welcomes people in to try and access services. And in some ways, the courtyard is just as important as everything else that goes on inside the building, where people can find a space for themselves to have a sense of calm before they enter the building and when they're off the sidewalk and off the street. This is the common space where people can access a whole variety of services, everything from a bathroom break or washing their clothes to receiving counseling or accessing the internet or taking classes. This is a shot of this shelter on the ground floor, 2 shots of the shelter on the ground floor. And one thing we always try to do is find ways to connect to nature and connect to views and the outdoors. And so we have this on the left. You see this sunken courtyard that is kind of like a grotto feel, and on the right, finding ways to connect to the street, but also provide privacy for the folks that are living in the shelter. Close-up view of that, look into that sunken garden space, and also places for people to exercise and to get wellness. I think it's something that's overlooked way too often in our in the way we treat our homeless neighbors. This is a view of the housing upstairs, one of the corridors. And the reason why I like this view is a couple reasons. One is it has the window at the end of the hallway that, again, reinforces that connection to nature and ways to see the sky and to see some trees. And then also the use of the natural materials on the inside and the use of color in ways that not only provide more durable conditions for people to live, but also have a sense of natural beauty. This is what one of the units looks like inside the Butler Commons. They're very small, very efficient, very durable. But a few things that are really important. We tried to bring in natural light as much as possible, so providing a window to the top of the bathroom so you bring light in from the living room. We've provided kitchens and baths so everybody doesn't have to share. And then also really important, but not a very exciting thing to see, but the register there, the air register, brings in natural air for each person, which is not the normal way that low-income apartments are designed usually. Usually the air just is filtered into the hallway, and we found that health outcomes can be greatly improved by providing fresh air to every room in the building. And this is one of my favorite shots of the project, where you can see what one of the units looks like after a person lives in there for a while. And this is a great success story of somebody who came, was living on the street before they came into the building, and now they've really been able to create a place that is their home, and has really helped them transition their life from one of crisis and trauma to a place where they have comfort and security. And what we've been able to prove over the years is that this system works, that this idea of housing first, of giving people housing, it really does improve their health outcomes and the cost to society. So you can see that this is just looking at Medicaid costs, but the same thing holds true for emergency services and for police services and for all sorts of other different costs to our society. But the costs go down as you give people housing, even though you're giving them free rent. This is another project that's near and dear to my heart, but very different scale. This is a project called Argyle Gardens, and we worked on this for about 5 years between 2015 and 2020. It opened right as the pandemic was beginning in April 2020. And this is also a project for formerly homeless folks, but you can see in a different context. We're on the edge between a neighborhood and an industrial area. And the idea was to provide a different style of housing that's co-housing, where people live together and they share living rooms, they share kitchens and baths. They are in small communities of 6 people to a floor, and basically trying to take the idea of a tiny village. Tiny villages are starting to crop up all around the West Coast, but try to take the idea of a tiny village and turn that into a building. And so we came up with a kit of parts that could be built off site and rearranged in a whole different array of options. Whether you're building a room to sleep in, a shared kitchen, bathrooms, stairs, corridors, or a full-on dwelling unit, but finding ways that you can kind of systematize these parts and pieces to be organized on any type of site. And then what we did was we turned that into basically a large duplex, where each duplex is made out of 4 boxes, and they're 2 stories each. And so we've got 6 people living on the ground floor, 6 people living on the second floor, so 12 people per duplex. And then we duplicate that duplex multiple times on the site. So it's a very efficient way to house as many people as possible, but also in a humane way where people can create community together. Here's a shot of one of those mods being placed in action. This was an exciting day watching this all happen. The modules all went up in 2 days, but then all the rest of the construction took quite some time to do, whether it's the foundations or the roofs or the interior build-outs. And then a few shots of what the project wound up looking like in the end. We used the staircases as a moment to kind of celebrate each building, where they become like these lanterns, these glowing lanterns that kind of draw you into the site and celebrate the points at which you enter into each building. Inside, they have very efficient but well-designed sleeping rooms where all the furniture is either built in or provided for people, but lots of places for storage, lots of flexibility, very durable spaces. And then on the left, you see here, this is one of those staircases, one of those lantern staircases from the inside. We used a greenhouse plastic cladding to create those stairwells, and it works incredibly well. And lastly, I wanted to show you two of the folks that moved into Argyle Gardens, Delia and George, two folks that I got to meet when they moved in, and the amount of impact that this project had on their lives has meant a lot to me and meant a lot to Holst, and I think these are just two stories of many of people that whose lives can be transformed just by having housing, and so. We're really excited to be able to provide that for folks, and I think it's a testament to the power of architecture and what you can do as a designer, and how just making some smart choices during design can really help improve the lives of people that need it the most. So with that, I thought I would stop and open it up to questions and see if anybody wanted to ask more about what it means to be an architect.